Hello, this is Ethan from Chaos, and today we are going to be going over the installation of the Chaos AK-47 380 handguard. This one just happens to be M-LOK. I would like to mention we do also offer this in key mod. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. One thing I do want to note before we get too far into this, on your standard AK platform guns such as Romanians, anything with a stamped receiver usually contains a front retaining bracket on the front of the barrel here. To install this particular rail, you do have to grind off the side, that sling mount that's right there. You do have to grind that off to put this on, but this one comes equipped with a sling mount directly on the front bracket itself, so you're not losing out there. I would like to mention we do have our dust cover rail installed on this weapon as of right now. Just happens to be the case, so let's go ahead and get into it. This weapon has been checked. It is clear and it's safe. So let's go ahead and get the gun stripped down. Okay. Now, as far as this bracket goes, you want to leave it locked in its place. It's just going to make installation a lot easier. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our handguard disassembled here. They do come to you fully assembled, as you see here. So what we're going to do is take the top portion of the handguard apart. Now, these screws here do come with a lubricant on them to keep them from taper locking. Which is why we do not recommend any form of Loctite on the screws on this handguard. The only screws which we recommend blue Loctite on are these two set screws on each end, this screw here in the rear portion, and possibly these up on the front bracket. Otherwise, you do not want to put any Loctite on any of these other ones. They are not required Loctite to hold. They are very capable of holding perfectly fine themselves. Okay, let's go ahead and get this off here. Okay, now that we have that off, the next thing you're going to want to do is remove the front bracket and this rear screw here, because on this particular weapon we don't have a hole in the receiver as what you would see on particularly a Sega 7.62 or some other variants might have that. Now these all come with these screws here. You can drill a hole in this if you like for added assurance or rigidity. It's not required. It's to your discretion. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to go ahead and... This is a 5/32 wrench I would like to add, and what we use to take this front handguard off with these guys here is a 3/32 T-handle in particular. Now what I am going to do while I'm here is I'm going to go ahead and take that little bracket apart. Let's see here, with a 7/64 Allen wrench. This bracket is in 2 halves and is required to come in half to install. So we're going to go ahead and take these out. Let me go ahead and finish taking it off the front mount here. Okay, now that we got that off, installing the lower portion is really simple and easy. The first thing you want to do is these 2 set screws you'll want to back out to ensure they don't hinder the installation at all. So we're going to go ahead and back those out considerably just to make sure they're not in our way during installation here. Okay. Now on some of these weapons, the width inside the receiver here of which the key fits vary. We have given it a little bit of play to accommodate that. On some occasions these do require a file fit. These are made of aluminum, very easy to file fit. and yeah, it's very, very rare it has to be done, but sometimes it does. Now, this will clear this bracket. You don't have to grind this bracket off. Okay, it will clear on the inside of the handguard. So let's go ahead and slip that on there, as such. Okay. Now, what I like to do is I'll go ahead and tighten this one back down here to give us a little bit more of a stable part, so it'll help a little bit with installation. Just snug it up a little bit there. Okay, now we go for installing this barrel bracket, this barrel mount for the handguard here. Like I said, you have to separate this. Okay, now we're going to mount the barrel bracket here. This is a two-piece. You have your left hand and your right hand side. You're going to want to mount the left hand piece. It's going to be mounted first on this rear front key here, and then this will be set on top of it like that. Your thread is in the rear piece, so it'll be sitting on here like this. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to put your one half on, put the other half on opposite here of the barrel, and you have two screws that join them up here. Okay. These will be joined with a 7/64 Allen wrench. I'm not going to tighten those quite yet. Now we can move these up to our front mounting key here and put our main screws through here. This is a 5/32 Allen wrench. Okay, I'm just going to snug those. I'm not going to get super crazy about it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this one snugged up as well. Okay, now we'll go back and tighten that all later. Like I said, you want to make sure this is in place and that the lever's locked in there so it doesn't go flying around in your handguard while you're shooting. You can also fix that any way you like, but most times they won't move. So we're going to go ahead and put the gas tube and bolt and spring assembly back in the gun. Put our dust cover rail back on here. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put on the upper portion of the handguard. Now these are made to only go one way. You can't turn them around. The whole pattern is aligned in only one direction. Now we're going to go ahead and put our screws in. Now, as I've mentioned before, these screws do come with a lubricant on them. You do not want to remove that lubricant. These don't have them on there at the moment, but you don't want to remove that. Those keep these from taper locking against the material. And also, as I mentioned before, they don't require any Loctite whatsoever. This is a 3/32 Allen wrench we'll be using on these here. And like I said also before, you don't have to tighten these down very much. Just a little past snug hand tight is more than enough, because since they are a flat head with a taper, they taper lock, which is more than enough to hold them in place. They will not back out. Okay, I'm going to turn this over, put the other three in. Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn it over. We're going to set our jack screws in. What's important is you want to make sure that you have it flush against the receiver here as much as possible. And like I said, you can also drill a hole through there to mount that key to keep this from over time if you're worried about it moving forward or such, which it has no way to move forward, but if you're worried about that, you can also do that as an option. So we'll go ahead and tighten these up. These, like I said before, these are the only screws we recommend putting any Loctite whatsoever, and we do recommend only blue Loctite on these 2 set screws. Okay, so now we got that tightened up. We're going to come back and snug our front bracket up here. With our 5/32 and also our 7/64 Allen wrenches here. Okay, and there she is, fully installed and ready to go to the range. Well, I appreciate your time. Y'all have a great day. Thank you.